Do you suffer from attacker anxiety, the constant lost feeling as you try to figure out what you want to do whilst the clock ticks down?
Are you trying? Shit. Shit.
Do you die frequently to things you probably could have been better prepared for? What if I told you that there's a gadget that can prevent all of that? What if I told you the strongest gadget in the game belongs to every attacker? This video will cover the most important aspect of attacking, droning. It is often the difference between winning and losing, and some people don't realize it. There will be some general tips, tips for solo players, and tips for stacks. Stop using the prep phase as your phone phase. The round begins as soon as you pick your spawn. As an attacker, you have the luxury of being able to switch your operator during the prep phase. If you spend it on your phone, you lose crucial time that can help inform that decision. There's nothing worse than trying to attack a site and realize you could have countered a strong part of their setup, but nobody brought it. You get 45 seconds to drone out the defensive setup. You don't want to lose your drone here. Having 2 drones for 3 minutes gives you way more flexibility than 1. Really, all you need to do is confirm where they are. Your spawn point impacts the starting point of your drone. This is why I say the round begins as soon as you pick your spawn. I usually aim for a spawn that's close to as many of the sites as possible. This means you need to travel less to identify where the site is. Just be aware that there are multiple drone spawn points per spawn option. There's usually a standard rotation of the sites on all maps. When you know this, you can find out where they are within 10 seconds of the prep phase. You're just looking for sound cues or physical cues, like reinforcements, gadgets being set up, stuff to give away where they are. You don't need to take your drone into sight to get the confirmation. Once you know where they are, you can either hide a drone or watch an important area, or just redirect it to cover your entry. The map and spawn point options can influence this choice. If it's a map with several spawn peak options, you may want to cover your entry. This can also help you get an easy pick or just guarantee you safe entry into the building. If you have set up to cover an important area, this can help you identify defenders and influence your lineup. It's really important that you only use yellow pings to identify the defenders. You can do this by pinging their gadget. You'll need to use your second drone to enter the building. It's a little slower, but that doesn't mean it's a bad choice. If you are in a stack, you may want to coordinate where you're placing your drones. This will give you more intel and map coverage. You can use this to guide your entry and subsequent plan for the round. For example, you can have 2 people set up entry drones and the rest cover key areas to gather intel on the setup. For solo queue players, it's probably better to cover your entry point. It's really important to get into the building as an attacker, and there can be a lot of anxiety around this if you play solo. Securing your entry with your drones can make life a lot easier for you. Once you do this, you can check your teammates' drones to see if you can get any useful intel from them. This can give you an indication of what they plan to do, give you any intel you may not be aware of, or just let you know where their drones are in case you need them later on. The action phase is where things can get messy. The main priority should be to get into the building as quickly as possible. The quicker you can start taking map control, the better it is for you. Use your drones to cover and secure your entry. Once you are in, you generally want to progress with your drones and keep all the intel you gather actionable. What does this mean? Progressing with your drone is when you move forwards with it. If you are in a team, this generally means droning someone in, but you can also do this for yourself. If you are solo, you have to drone for yourself. This typically means you drone a room or 2 ahead, then push forward to secure the area you have droned. Keeping the intel actionable means you are able to trust the intel you gather is still relevant by the time you're in position to react to it. If you drone something or someone out, but you're halfway across the map, by the time you get to that point, the situation could have changed entirely. The closer you are to your drone, the more actionable the intel is. If you're in a stack and droning for someone, all intel should be actionable. If the intel you gather is not actionable, you're over droning, which is when you drone too far ahead. If you lose your drone and the intel is inactionable, it can definitely lead to feeling lost. You know someone is ahead of you, but there's question marks on where they are and all the space in between. To avoid over droning, make sure you actively switch off your drone and secure the map control. Claymores or other flank watch gadgets can assist in securing your flank. Progressing with your drone can also help with feeling insecure about droning. There are times when you may want to drone but may not feel safe enough to do so. When progressing with your drone, you will drone slightly ahead of yourself and already have your drone set up to push into the next area. You should get used to managing both of your drones. For example, if you have one drone set up to cover your entry, you can use it to progress through the map and gain control. Your second one can then be used as a flank drone for you to intermittently flick between. If you set your prep phase drone to watch over a key area, you should be moving towards that area. If you don't think you'll be able to secure it, you can redirect it to assist in guiding your movement. The further you get in the map, the more you will need a flank drone. You may also need to reposition it if you start to wander too far from it, so you keep the intel actionable. It also gives your teammates something to watch if someone dies early, which leads me to, the round isn't over after you die, unless you're last alive. If you've been using both your drones, you're likely to have at least one that could be useful to your team. It's way better than dying with one in your pocket. Don't forget to flick through your teammates' drones if they're up to. Any intel you can give will be super useful. You may have heard that you should never red ping, but that's not completely true. But how can that be the case? First, let's understand the difference. A red ping will be the most accurate marker for a player's position in that moment, but it will also alert them of the fact that they were marked. A yellow ping may or may not be accurate. The perspective can make it hard to tell, as well as placement of the observation tool. It is more of a general guideline, but can be accurate in certain spots, like corners. However, it does not alert the other player that they were marked. So, looking at that, you may think, of course, yellow ping is the best, and generally it is. You give intel to your team without giving any to the opponents, but there can be circumstances where letting the opponent know they're being watched can actually be a good thing. If there's a teammate close by who can capitalize on a kill, red pinging at the right time can be a distraction for the opponent. It can cause them to panic, try to find a cam or drone, or just try to get away. This can be enough of a distraction for your teammate to swing and get the kill. Of course, this is something that is generally better with coordination. Another example is if the yellow ping may not be as precise as you want it to be. The best case I can give for this is if your teammate is able to wallbang or floorbang someone, but you don't think you can give them the most precise yellow ping, which is often the case. A well-timed red ping can make it easy for them to capitalize on the kill, as it will be exact. You can build up to it with yellow pings to get them in a general area if you like. But just like before, this is best done with coordination. One moment that requires a bit less coordination is during the closing moments of a round. There's less than 30 seconds
20
left.
seconds left on the clock, you got the diffuser in hand, what do you do?
What better way to make the opponent panic than to ping them like crazy? This can force them to make a rash decision that pushes them into your teammates and gets them killed, especially if you're defending. To get proficient with drones, you have to build good drone habits. The easiest way to do this is to just use your drones more often. Playing quick match, drone. Versus AI, drone. Ranked, definitely drone. If you have the option to drone, do it. You may come across someone complaining in all chat about you droning, but who cares? They're only complaining because of how powerful drones are. Why would you give that up? It doesn't prove anything. The more consistent you are with droning, the more comfortable and proficient you will become with your drones. Here are some useful tips pertaining to droning. By this, I don't mean the audio you hear, I mean the audio the drone makes. There's a certain distance you can rotate your drone before it will give off an audio cue, for instance. That audio cue can be the difference between your drone surviving and it being discovered. Be very aware of how much you can rotate your drone before it makes a sound cue. Knowing this can make it easier to hide your drones in key areas. If you press V whilst on your drone and stay still for a second, you'll get a line showing the path the drone will take if you were to jump it. This can be useful for getting your drone into higher spots. You can line it up and be sure of where it will go. No more trial and error, no more creating a bunch of noise and giving your drone away. Some settings I would recommend checking for droning are cycle inside camera groups, drone after prep, drone speed boost, drone deployment. You can find out more on these settings from my useful settings video.